Alrighty, so I've got everything ready to go. Gone for a couple of drives. Everything's behaving itself. There's no leaks. I'll just go into the car. Not that I can get under here very well, but you'll see. Yeah. So you'll see that that bung is starting to leak a little bit. I've moved the car a couple of times, so it's in different positions now. But yeah, there's a couple of drops there. So I'm waiting for that gritty oil pan to come before I do too much on that. But yeah, everything's holding up nicely. There's been no real big problems. Yeah, no big problems at all. Everything's still in exactly where I put it, which is good. And the coils are working well. There's no leaks around the turbo or anything like that. So yeah, we're good to go. Start getting into into the tuning again, which is the headache part. I'm not a professional at it, so do this at your own risk. I have just personal experience in what I've done, and it works. But yeah, I don't have access to a dyno, and I probably won't rent one until I have an adaptronic ECU to put in, which is here. So once that goes in, I'll be taking it to a dyno to tune that, because that's a full tune. There's nothing in there. There's a base map, and it's all at like 40 degrees advanced, and then we've got idle is around 17, and I can get it to idle, but I just don't feel comfortable driving and tuning this on the road when it's a full tune. It's not just I can take everything from 50% load and down, and need to. Yeah, it's too much of a risk, and being on the roads just not going to happen. So we'll get stuck into tuning in VersaTuner, and yeah, we'll see how it happens. Alrighty, so I've gone for a drive. Like I said last time, it's ready to do a little bit of MAF calibration to match up these long-term fuel trim, short-term fuel trims for what we need to do to the MAF. Now, I did record this earlier, but for some reason I have lost it, so I'm recording it again. So what we do is we go and open the log file from VersaTuner in MegaLog HD, and then we have this table here. So mass airflow sensor voltage down the bottom, which matches your scale in the MAF calibration in VersaTuner. So that would be this here, which is your MAF voltage. So you just copy and paste it into here, and then you got the RPM axis on the y-axis going up, and then on the z-axis you have long-term fuel trims plus short-term fuel trims, which is a calculated field under here, which is hello, that gonna work? Yes, we'll go edit. So long-term fuel trim plus short-term fuel trim primary sensor, and then that gives you this. So that is your long-term trims and your short-term trims added together to overlay on top of this. So what it does is match your airflow voltage and your RPM at a certain point, and then gives you what the trims are at that point. So once we've got all that information, we can go into the log here and go, right, well, we pretty much want to look at these green ones only, like the dark green ones and the light green ones. Not too much the yellow ones, not really too concerned about them. The more hits, the better. So the more hits, the darker it gets. Less hits, the lighter it gets. Now, you can turn on throttle closed as well, but you really want to be seeing the idle, because that needs to be on point. So what we do is we go into sensor calibration and we have a look at where we want to start. So let's just say 1.33 volts. We've got 3.78%. So go into here and go 1.3. It's not exact. It's damn close. So it rounds up. So 1.33 here is actually 1.328 here, because rounded up 0.002 of a volt is 1.33. So we want to add 3.78, but like I said before, you don't add the entire amount. So you can add 0.15, so half of 3% really, and multiply that value. And then we go into the next one, and we turn on since last saved as well, so we can keep track of where we're up to. So 1.37, so we want to add 6%, so we'll add 3% here. So 1.03 times that. This one here, same deal, 3%. This next one, go ballpark between 6 and 4, so we'll go 3% as well. And next one, so half of that, that'll be about 2.5%. So 1.025. This one, we'll go 3%. So yeah, like I said, always go half, or just a little bit over half. You don't want to add the full amount because, yeah, I've already done this and gone through and done the whole thing. So I have a new log file for that change, which I'll just show you that. So then we have a look in here and close that tune and open my current one. And that's my MAF at the moment. So that's with all those changes added in. So I've done that half of everything in here, and as you can see, some places it has worked perfectly fine. Other places it still needs more. So like these 4% here, but you know, under 5% trims is perfectly fine. You don't want to go chasing your tail on this. And I spoke to Kinsey on Discord. He's a tuner overseas. And yeah, he's pretty much said, look, don't go too far into it. Like anything under 5% is perfectly fine to just, you know, have the ECU correct it. You're never going to get it spot on because you can come in here and go, right, well, I want to correct that 1% or that 4%, and you'll add 2 or 3%, and then you'll be pulling fuel out or pulling load out. So it'll be a minus, you know, 0.5% or a minus 1%. And then you'd go in there and you'd correct that, and then it'll be a plus, and then it'll be a minus. You just keep going around in circles. So it's not worth trying to correct it to that extent. As long as you're under 5%, you're generally good. And now I have corrected up the top here as well. So all I did was, yeah, so I asked ChatGPT for a calculation here, just to say, right, you know, if 14.7 or 1 bar of boost is 200% load and 7 psi is 150% load, then give me a breakdown on what the percentages are per boost. So good thing about AI is you can do this kind of thing. You can't tell it to tune your car for you, but you can get it to do the maths and not have to use so much brain power. So I knew that, you know, 8 psi should be 154% load, and I was seeing 42 to 44%. So I asked it to do the maths on that as well, and it told me to do it by around 6% in total. So yeah, we went up the top and added 6% to the entire MAF at the top end. So from about here onwards, and moved it all out using the spreadsheet, like I said in the last one, and interpolated in between just to get a nice linear curve. So it's pretty smooth. It's not 100%, like a little tiny low spot there, but it's not enough for me to worry too much about it. But the plan is to move on to the next part of, you know, now this is sorted, the load's reading correctly now, and we can show you that there. So maximum load was 1.557 and maximum boost was 8.3 from memory. I have to have a look at the boost gauge, but yeah, it was between 7.8 and 8.3. And yeah, it's going pretty well, but yeah, we'll move on to the next part of the volumetric efficiency tuning, because now the MAF is correct. We can work on the VE, get the fueling sorted now. Gone for a drive. Went and got a haircut, so that'll be a good excuse to go for a drive. I took the RX-8 and it is performing really, really well now. Still a little bit lean on the AFRs under boost. I'm seeing about 12, between low 12s to medium 12s. Very occasionally coming onto boost, like when the secondaries kick in, it's going pretty rich. But I am running 1600 secondaries, so I expected that to happen. But I'd rather run richer than leaner. So yeah, I just tune around it. But I've got this log that need to export now and put into MegaLog. So we'll export this, open up MegaLog HD. A little bit too big. And we'll open that log file. So I like to name my things. So my tune version right now is 3.09. So every time I do a revision or a change, I change it to one increment up and then just put a name next to it. So when the Brett's manifold first went on, it was just Brett's manifold. And then, yeah, just as I go, I just increase the number on the end. All right, so we saw a max absolute load of 1.56557. Yeah, 557. Just for that small change that I did, and max grams per second of 234. So pretty much exactly the same as last time with the grams for the MAF, but a higher load reading. So that's a good change. Everything seems to be going pretty well. Let's have a quick scan through. Yeah, right. So as you can see, this is the MAF now. Yeah, everything's really good. It's all under 5%, except for that one cell there, which, yeah, these ones, these two here, but these are pretty close. So I wouldn't worry about trying to tune too much into that. Yeah. So we'll have a look at the volumetric efficiency side of things. I really need to change that because it should be actual air fuel ratio, not long-term fuel trims. So interesting there. So on my AFR gauge, I just turn off throttle closed. So throttle closed just means any time the throttle is less than 5%, it just removes it from this graph because you don't need to see that. This is more open loop tuning than anything. So we see, high 13s, medium 13s to the medium 12s. And this is generally when the boost is kicking in. Excuse me. So yeah, boost comes on around 25 to 3000 RPM. So yeah, that's pretty good actually. 11.9. So yeah, so this is the rich spot I was talking about. This is when the secondaries kick in about 3500 RPM when the SSV is supposed to open normally, but I've got it opening earlier. But I don't know if we have any control over exactly when the secondaries kick in. I think it's more just duty cycle of the injectors. So if we have a look under, where's the max load area? Probably about here. So that's, yeah. So you can see load spikes up. So, and then secondaries kick in. And then, yeah, so generally speaking, when the primaries are firing, it's annoying that you don't have any control over it, but it's like it's burnt into the ECU. But you pretty much you don't fire the secondary injectors until the primary ones are like 90%. It's programmed into the ECU. I don't know how to change it. But yeah, it used to be whenever the SSV would open is when the secondaries would kick in. But I've got my SSV opening at about 2000 RPM now, or 2200, because I don't want it to interfere with the boost. Because once you get into boost, the SSV opens or the VDI opens, it really flatlines boost levels and makes boost control hard. So you just open them just before the boost kicks in, and it smooths everything out. But yeah, this is the high point here. So 11,873 microseconds of injector fuel injector pulse width at 3,600 RPM. So I'm not even going to try and do the math on that, but I'm sure I can find a calculator that will give me it. But I think that's around 70% memory. Yeah. Anyway, you can see going down, a few secondaries kick in, and it gets pretty rich right there. So 11.221, but then it recovers and it leans out, and it goes up to 12.2. So really, from let's just say 3,500 to 4,000, yeah, probably 4,000 RPM, between 3 and 4, 35 and 4. Yeah, we definitely can leave that area alone and focus more on the 4,000 and up to richen this up, because yeah, that right there should be about 11 flat to very low 11, but it's high 11s. So it's not a lot, but it's enough that I want to tweak it. So we'll have a look at the histogram again. So really, if we just chuck this into my spreadsheet, just see what it looks like once it opens. I think it's under AFR tables. There it is. So we'll paste that into here. All right. So yeah, we got a little bit rich in this area here. So 25% load through to 95%, around 4 to 4,500 RPM is a bit rich, very rich. But everywhere else is a little bit lean. I need 6%, 5%, 8%, 11, 12%, 21%, but I'm going to ignore that because that was in this area here, which is light colored, which means there's very little hits. Like I said before, bright yellow to green, you can sort of count that. Anything that's outside of it, generally don't take too much attention to it. So I wouldn't be doing these. But yeah, these ones here, so we can probably add 5% into most of this, probably from about 44% load through to 100% load. Yeah, yeah, that could work. Yeah, we'll just go through, do some math on this, see what it looks like. But right now, my volumetric efficiency was set up for my old manifold, which didn't breathe the best. Like, it was fine, but this one breathes a hell of a lot better. I mean, it's the cast manifold, so been designed pretty well. But yeah, if we have a look into here, a bit of a change of plans. I had a look back through what I did. Yeah, went on a bit of a run in circles loop with the volumetric efficiency tuning side of thing, alteration, and I decided to just reset the VE back to default. So right now, this is from stock tune. This is a default volumetric efficiency, just scaled to 200%. So all I've done there is just scaled the load axis here through to 200%. I left the RPM alone because 8,500 RPM, being a turbo rotary turbo Renesis, you're generally not going to rev past 8,000 anyway because the turbo is going to run out of efficiency. You start dropping off boost at around 7.5 anyway. So by the time you hit 7, you're generally changing gears. So with that change now done, I've gone for another drive, and we pretty much left the MAF calibration the same as last time. I did add a little bit more, I believe, up the top here because it was still out a tiny bit. So I think I added about another 5% through this area, and then interpolated between. So the curve is more, it jumps up quite significantly around this area now. But yeah, so went for a drive of that, and yeah, it's actually pretty damn good now. So the volumetric efficiency, after I've spoken to Kinsey, that tuner overseas, about it, and with VersaTuner, VE isn't exactly volumetric efficiency per se. It's more of a load correction. Now, this threw me for about a day when he told me. I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how does that work? But it still functions like a volumetric efficiency table. It just isn't classified as that. So really, VE shouldn't really need to be touched that much. It's more for fine tuning than anything. And being that my log, which I'll open that back up. So the log was a little bit out top and it was running relatively rich. We'll just bring that up. So this is after the last changes that I've done. We're going to, yeah. Yep, short term plus long term. Where is that? There it is. No, that doesn't look right. That one. So you can see everything in here is pretty damn good. Even adding half of that amount that I added, it still didn't do a hell of a lot. It still needs a tiny bit more, but 5% is perfectly fine. Like I said before, I could probably tweak this a tiny little bit, and maybe a little bit of forehead just to be safe. But yeah, everything up here is maybe a little bit too much now. But the car is performing pretty damn well now, so I'm not going to do too much on that. But if you look at the actual air fuel ratios now, close throttle is on. You can see the AFR is pretty damn close to what I was asking for. So if anything, it might need to go a tiny bit, as 11.25 should be 1108. 11.42 should be 1108. So it's pretty damn close. But yeah, a little bit of tweaking there, and it should be good. Now I can either do that in the MAF calibration, so add a little bit more to the MAF calibration. That way it adds more fuel because more grams equals more fuel. Or I could go into the VE table and correct it inside there. So if we have a look and copy this into the spreadsheet, which we've got that. Where's my spreadsheet? There it is. So we'll paste this into here. Now you can see there's not a lot that needs to happen. It's it's a little bit there, a little bit here, but everywhere else is pretty damn close. So he wants me to pull a little bit of fuel out there. So have a look at our AFR table. Now, it might actually be pretty spot on because I thought it was 1108, but that doesn't kick in until later on, so 5,500 RPM. So we got 1142, 5,000 RPM, 1.5 load. So 1.5 load, was that 55,000 RPM? Should be 1137, and it's 1142. So it is actually really, really close. 5,500, 1131. So yeah, there could be a little bit better. 6,000 is 1131, and it's 1137. 6,500. Yeah, so it's relatively good. Like it's close enough that I'm not going to bother touching it. Now that's literally just using the stock VE table, just scaled to 200% and playing with the MAF calibration. So I'd suggest when you're doing this, start with the MAF calibration first. Obviously, scale your volumetric efficiency up to 200%. Same with your calculated engine torque. Leave that all stock values. Just scale it up as high as you can. And make sure your timing's good. So pull out, 2 degrees of timing to be safe per PSI of boost pressure. But yeah, I haven't done much on the timing. I've literally just gone into ignition timing here and taken everything from here up and pulled per 1 degree of timing, and obviously interpolated it in. So instead of it being a big hit here, so 1.25, which would be about 3 or 4 psi. Stock value is 7.5, 14, 20, 20.5. So I've got about 10 degrees of timing out there. And same with 1.5, pulling about 12 to 16 degrees out. And then 1.75, which is about 10, 11 psi, pulling about 20 degrees out in places. And then 200% load, which is 14 psi, pulling roughly about 15 to 16 degrees out of there as well, 20 degrees there. Let's just be safe, but I'm about to start working on the ignition timing side of things. now that the fueling's under control and it's performing pretty damn well. We can tweak the ignition timing to get a little bit more torque out of it, but it's definitely driving a lot better now. Now we've also modified the ignition dwell timing a little bit as well. So that's the current dwell timings that we were running on the IGN 1A coils. It seems to be holding pretty well. Coils do get a little warm, but they don't get hot. Like they're not hot enough that I can touch the heatsink and be like, shit, that's hot. They're warm. They're maybe about 40 degrees, but they are sitting on top of the engine under the bonnet, so they're gonna get the heat radiating from the engine as well. But I've had no problems running this, so it's been really, really good. But yeah, so focus on your MAF calibration first. Match up the log here. So match up all of your short-term and long-term fuel trims based off of your actual AFR. Your long-term fuel trims on mass airflow sensor voltage and RPM. Get that all under control, and then focus on matching your load. So once you go into open loop, so this is all closed loop areas. Once you go into open loop, which is about here, focus on matching your AFR table to your logged AFRs. So that means what you're actually getting and logged via VersaTuner, and what your table is actually. So if I have a look at the fuel tables here, match up whatever you're getting in here at a certain RPM and a certain load to match what you're being logged in VersaTuner while you're driving at that load level. So once you get them pretty much on point, you can just make sure that your calculated load value is correct as well. So matching up 7 psi or 25% load, 50% load, 175% load, 200% load. So these areas here, making sure that 100% load is atmospheric pressure, which is 0 psi, 125% load, 150, 175, 200. Once that is reporting correctly in the log, so you pretty much make sure that your boost level here, you can do a short log, do a fourth gear pull at 60 k's an hour, for instance. Put your foot down, get to a stable boost level, hold it there for as long as you can, or until you hit the speed limit or whatever you want to do there, and then stop recording, and then go back and read the log. So take a photo of your boost pressure, or if you know your boost pressure, use that as your gauge, and then match up your maximum absolute load to your maximum boost level that was recorded during that pull. And if that's close, then awesome, you're good to pretty much make sure that your AFRs down the bottom here are good. So this is my actual AFR. If not, then you can go into the VE and tune it. Or if your load value is incorrect, then adjust that first before you go into VE. So now that we know that my absolute load is correct and the MAF is reading perfectly, like plus or minus 5%, then the AFRs are now fully under control, and it's pretty much on point to what I'm asking it to be. It makes life a lot easier. Now, like I said, I could add a little bit of fuel in some areas, but I don't think it's worth the hassle right now, because it's only 11.42 instead of 11.38 or whatever it was. So it's very, very minor. If you're picky, you could do it. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to focus on getting the Adaptronic in, which I'll do another video on that soon, because that's going to be a hell of a video. It's going to be very long. There's a lot of stuff to set up on that. But yeah, we'll move on to that. Alrighty, so like I said, I'm not a professional tuner, but yeah, I've sort of stumbled my way through it for a couple of months, and as you can see, everything's working good. The car's performing well. So I thought I'd just do this video to help a few people out with their MAF calibration. Yeah, it is a little bit of trial and error, but yeah, hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to tell you. But if not, leave a comment and I can redo it again and try and do it a bit more easier to understand. But it's kind of like a science, but It's just taking your log data and matching against what you're wanting to have, and matching the calculated loads and making sure they're under control. Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.